So good afternoon, one and all. In the session 3 of day 5 of the 6-day online STTP, our expert of this session, Mr. Pradeep Sangwanji, is with us. We welcome you, sir. Let me first take the privilege to introduce our expert of this session with you all. Mr. Pradeep Sangwan is the founder and promoter of Healing Himalayas Foundation, which has taken over the oneness task of cleaning out the trashes from the picturesque Himalayas. An alumnus of Rashtriya Military School Ajmer, Mr. Sangwan is disciplined, dedicated and passionate about his approach to clean out the waste generated as a result of our mindless adventure. In order to preserve the pristine beauty of Himalayas, Mr. Sangwan and his team embark on arduous journey and track and bring back the garbage. After dodging many initial barriers, his experience have helped to shape this visionary who holds Mother Nature in high regard that considers himself as Himalayan healer. We welcome you, sir. You are most welcome in the 6-day online short-term training program. So now may I request Mr. Sangwan to please start with his expert lecture.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Pradeep Sangwan. And for trekking and traveling, but with a purpose. And about which, and for the same, I'll share my journey of last 5 years and the way forward. I hope I'm audible and loud and clear, everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's all fine.
Okay. So I'm Pradeep Sangwan, originally from Haryana. I studied from a military school, as I mentioned in my, So from military school, I did my schooling for 7 years. I was there since 1997 to 2004. So I'm mentioning about, I'll be mentioning mental issues that all of us
Sorry, sir, you are not audible. I suppose some network issues there. Sir, you are not audible. मैसेज भी आया है शायद मेरा इधर से माइक ऑफ कर दो
Okay. Is it clear now?
हाँ जी सर अभी आ रही है आवाज.
Actually, I'm in Goa these days on my holidays, and the network is a bit overwhelming.
जी.
Anyways, so I was talking about my school and my school's lifestyle, and I was telling that I was supposed to go to the military, armed forces, air force, or navy, but eventually I did not. After my school, very disciplined life, I went to Chandigarh, and by that time I almost gave up on the education part, and because of the disciplined life, I thought of exploring a little. And DAV College Chandigarh was the perfect getaway for me because I hardly joined any classes. I never used to, go to the classes, attend any lectures. Majorly, my focus was to go outdoors, try and explore the Himalayan parts because I made a lot of friends from Himachal Pradesh. And that's when I, fell in love with the Himalayas. After 3 years of graduation, it was more of a fun time because, the school life was very, very hectic, and things were very different when you enter a college life. So for me, college was more of exploring and going on, finding new track routes and adventurous journey. So since then, initially for me, Himalayas were more of a I go out and trek and find a new track and explore, and it was a race to be at the top in the Himalayas. But eventually, over a period of time, after my graduation, when I realized that I lost crucial time of my life and I didn't do nothing about it, and the certain pressure that family gives you about what's the way forward, what's your future is going to be, you're supposed to get married and you come from a very humble background. So by 25, 26, you're supposed to get married and the perfect life, government job, kids, 9 to 5 thing. But I wasn't really prepared for that, and I eventually ran away from my house after that, after my graduation, and I moved to Himachal Pradesh. I didn't know much about Himachal. I was there on a few tracks, I was there here and there, and I explored a little. But when you settle down to a new place, you need to learn a lot of new things about the culture, about the habitat. What is going to be in the winters, how's summers looks like. So it was very different from Haryana, Punjab, or any city, plain cities, and Himachal is totally different. So to give my family an excuse, I started a small cafe in Himachal, in one of the most remotest part of the city. The cafe was called Cafe Zeppelin because it was the band that I used to like, rock band, Led Zeppelin, after the name. So Cafe Zeppelin started in my life, and that was the first platform that gave me strength to stay in Himachal Pradesh and explore, you know, mingle with the local communities, try and understand their culture. And from there, I started moving to the deeper parts of Himalayas, and I started exploring a lot. And since then, life took a different turn. I was there for a trek in 2014. It was very, I would say that it was very difficult, very rough terrain, cold desert. Basically, it was in Spiti. There are two lakes, Chandatal and Surastal lakes. So there is a trek of 70 kilometers from Surastal to Chandatal, and that eventually becomes Chenab, that goes to Pakistan in Lahore. So Surastal and Chandatal are the two origins of that lake, or that river. And we were going for the trek from Surastal to Chandatal. And in the midway, we stopped. The first day we trekked about 35 kilometers. Along the way, there wasn't anybody because it is very, tough trek. So people hardly come and do that trek. We saw a couple of shepherd communities there, and we saw them from a distance, and we kept on moving towards our goal that was there. From Surastal, we had to go to Chandatal Lake in 3 days. That was our timeline. So first day I reached at the midpoint, and there was this river in Tibetan. It's called Tokpo Yongma. That means big river. So we were supposed to cross that river. I hope I'm audible. All okay? Okay. So the first day we reached at the midpoint of our trek, and somehow we couldn't cross that river the next day because of the rain, excessive rain. And when you have to cross the river, you need to check that if the water is uh, knee deep or not. So it was above our knees, and so we thought of canceling it. Now there was two options, that whether we stay there or should we go back, or we wait for a few days and then we move forward. So then we started cooking for breakfast, and we found that our stove is also not working. We had chocolate, so we managed to eat until noon. Then we decided that we need to do something about it, whether we move forward or we come back. So we saw some smoke coming out from that area, and it was almost 6-7 kilometers from our location. So it took us a couple of hours to reach that location. And there was this community, shepherd community. हमारे जो गद्दी है, भेड़ बकरी चराते हैं जो लोग, they were there. So they were a bit annoyed with us because the last day when we were crossing them, we never said hi or hello to them. And it was such a remote location. They always look out for people coming down towards their direction. So in a few minutes, we said that we were in a hurry and all that stuff, and we managed to, break that ice. And I asked them that, boss, I'm really hungry. Give me some food. We have chocolates. You can keep that chocolates and everything, but we need some salt in our body because we've been traveling and trekking and we don't have that kind of energy now. So he said, I'll make kadi chawal for you guys and you eat and you stay with us for a few days. And that was the best and the most amazing kadi chawal that I got in my whole life so far. And then, the ice broke down and we started communicating, we started talking to each other. And there were so many beautiful stories he shared with us, how they encounter all the wildlife in there, uh, you know, all the leopards and everything. And every time they have to be, very on their feet because, they have such a big, huge herd all the time with them and they had to manage that. So after a few days, he said that stay the night. Then I said, no, I'll stay for a few days. I'll stay with you and I'll learn a lot from you because I see you live a very sustainable and eco-friendly lifestyle. And that's where I realized that, the shepherd community of our Himalayas are the most eco-friendly people in the world because wherever they live, they don't really ruin anything around them. They don't really leave any carbon footprints behind them. And that's what everybody needed to learn at that point of time because as a young country, we just started exploring. Most of our population is below, 35. Around 65% of our population is below 35, and that's a huge number because if you see that potential, where you want to divert that energy. So from there, I realized that shepherd communities are the best examples, living examples that everybody can pursue, or at least try and implement those part of that lifestyle into their habits or daily routine. And in 3 days I realized a lot from them, learned a lot from them because their journey is very tough, very hectic. Almost throughout the year they travel about 8 to 9 months. uh, from March onward they start moving towards higher altitudes, and along the way they don't really pollute anything, they don't really leave any carbon footprints behind, and all they do is some once in a while is cause a traffic jam on our beautiful roads which we are so used to of. But anyways, that's another thing. So when they reach to the highest altitudes, around 5,000 meters, 6,000 meters, they stay there, they protect the environment. And I asked them that, what's your point of view towards climate change, or what do you think about climate change or climate crisis or water scarcity or snowfall and things like that? Because we live in such a remote area and such beautiful, pristine, natural environment. What is your say in it? Uh, and typically he was, he gave me a very typical example. He said, पहले 10 साल पहले स्नोफॉल जो होता था बहुत ज्यादा होता था. ज्यादा स्नोफॉल से घास में जो न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू थी बहुत ज्यादा होती थी. विद टाइम जो न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू है वो कम हुई है बिकॉज ऑफ लेस स्नोफॉल. उसकी वजह से जो हमारी हमारी जो भेड़ है उसमें ताकत कम होती है, और उसकी ताकत की वजह से उसकी ऊन जो है पहले जो 3 बार हम काटते थे अब वो 2 बार करते हैं. सो वेरी सिंपल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू बट वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग मैसेज एट द सेम टाइम. Climate change effects on these vulnerable communities, and at the same time they are not responsible for it. It is our activities. We are the major stakeholders to create these climate crises on a daily basis because our habits, our lifestyles impacting is also impacts their lives. So that's what I realized. Very simple point of view, but at the same time very strong message from a shepherd community. That's where I thought that I really found my heroes in Himalayas, and I should follow their footsteps. And every year since then, I spend at least 10 to 15 days with them, try and understand their lifestyles, try to get respected from the mountains of the Himalayas. And then onwards, then I decided that these education part, these learnings should go into each and everybody's life. Healing Himalayas in 2014. I thought I would start in 2014, but somehow when I went home and I told my parents that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, that I'll pick up a place that has been thrown by so many people in the most remotest and pristine locations of Himalayas, and this is what I'm going to do. So there was a big conflict. So Now, when you try and walk on the less trodden paths, it's always difficult, and the people you love will start hating you because they don't like that idea at all, because they don't want to see their loved ones to go through so much of pain which is not caused by him or her. But there was no way to explain them, because I introspected myself, I explained it into my head, but it was very difficult to communicate or articulate in a way that everybody around me understand the same point of view that I was going through. So that's when I left home, and in 2016, it took me a couple of years to understand, because my background doesn't really support me what I do today, because I am not really, I never done any masters in social work or environment or anything like that. But I had, a pure intention. I was very keen on doing what I could, and mainly I knew how to track. But along with tracking, I wanted to inculcate this habit of trekking and cleaning, traveling for a purpose. So 2016, Healing Himalayas came into picture. Took me a couple of years to comprehend the situation, how to go about it, understand it, and the inception of Healing Himalayas came into picture. Now, all the rebellious attitude that I had with my family or people around me, now I need to make it practical. So how to go about it? Like there are so many track routes, there are so many places, there are so many touristic locations. There is so much of garbage. There is so much of local communities. How to engage them? So I thought of, let's start with one track. Instead of going puzzling myself, or I did Google a lot about these problems, and I saw that there are so many problems out there. Every nook and corner of Himalayas is piled up with lots of garbage. It's like uh, each and every street of Delhi or any metro city, it's becoming the same situation in the Himalayan region. And I thought, why nobody is bothered about it? Why nobody cares about it? So there are multiple answers that I got along the way. One is, there are people who are stuck into day-to-day life. They're struggling with to meet their ends. So there are other people community who's focused on economy rather than ecology. So multiple things happened. So I decided that let's focus on one track route and start with one, and then let's see how to go about it eventually. I had a passionate mind and heart and body, but I didn't really have solutions at that point of time. So I thought, let's explore it. I organized first track. There were only two people in the first track, me and a good friend of mine. And we went out and we did a small cleanup. Only 5 to 6 bags we carried of garbage. And then we brought back to the base village. And then eventually we looked out for the places, how exactly can we dispose the collected waste. Now, there was one problem, that how to gather volunteers. Second was how to engage or motivate local communities, and the third is how to dispose the collected plastic waste or the other parts of solid waste, you can say tin or glass bottles. So multiple problems right in front of me in the most remotest, most rigid topography of the world, Himalaya. And that's where took it very slowly. Small is sustainable, and small is scalable also. You can really sustain the whole process if you keep it low. So initial days, in first year 2016, I organized about 15 to 16 cleaning drives, wherein I used to trick my friends that come over to Himachal. I'll give you a good party, and then eventually I made them to clean off the trash that has been thrown by the regular trackers of the tourists. So first year, only 10 to 15 cleaning drives. Along the way, I realized, what are the alternatives? Now, what are the alternatives to dispose plastic waste once it's collected? In India, we always focus on the large scale solutions. This is a habit with us. The biggest large scale solution that our government or state governments or the municipal corporations that are working on is waste to energy plants. How to create electricity out of plastic waste, because it's a large scale solution. You put it in the furnace, you incinerate it, burn it, produce heat out of it, and then rotate the turbine, and electricity is there. But was it so easy? No, it wasn't, because it's not a indigenous technology. It comes from the Scandinavian countries such as Sweden, Norway, Finland, etc. And the waste there, their composition of waste there is very different compared to ours. We have a lot of food waste mixed into plastic. So the problem, then I realized that in the metro cities, why these waste to energy plants are not working, because nobody segregates their waste. Even if they segregate their waste, once it reaches to the location or municipal corporation ground, it gets mixed up. So that was the first problem that I encountered. Although what we collected in the Himalayan regions was totally segregated waste, purely recyclable. And we, identified multiple directions where our waste will go, whether it's, single-use plastic, MLP, or one-time use plastic, chips packet or kurkura packets. Second is PET bottles, which is recyclable. Third is tin, and fourth is glass. Those are the four major components of waste that I get while tracking. Now the state or center government work on waste energy plants, large scale solutions. In one go, at least they need 500 tons of solid waste, which is neat and clean, segregated plastic waste, which holds high calorific value. Now it's in India, it's very difficult because we have mechanism to dispose the waste. We have people who create waste, but there is no system that aligns with both of them. The system in between is missing always. Somebody who segregates their waste, then the municipal corporation guy comes to your door, then he mix your waste right in front of your eyes, and that demotivates you. And then eventually, along the way, what they do is from your house to the waste energy plant, they take out all the recyclable material and sell it off somewhere in between, and the low calorific value waste reaches to the waste to energy plant. And that's why all the waste to energy plants, large scale solutions, are flopping in India. Almost 50% of the waste to energy plants in India are already shut. But now, recently, after almost 20 years, we had amendments in solid waste management. That was in 2016, wherein Niti Aayog came into picture. And this government, no matter what's happening all around, but this government is quite active in Swachh Bharat mission and everything. So they brought out certain policies that how to go about it, why we are flopping so much. There are recycling units in multiple states. Gujarat is one of the biggest recyclers in India. When they need plastic waste, they have to get it imported from USA, Canada. But our country produces a lot of waste, but at the same time, we don't have systems in between so that it can reach out to the recyclers. So that's one of the problems. Now, Niti Aayog decided that let's work on local technology, indigenous technologies. That's where you guys also come into picture. Civil engineers, I don't know, no, not civil engineers, but engineers, so that you can work on small scale solutions. I'll talk about small scale solutions also at the same time, but let's focus on the problems that where all it started. So waste to energy plants, 50% got shut, but still our government is keen on making these large scale facilities, and eventually they got shut. So second solution. Now, if the waste to energy plants are not working properly, what are the alternatives? Then second problem, second solution that got into everybody's head was why not try these cement plants, because in Himachal there are 3 to 4 cement plants, CCC cement plants, and let's give them our waste, plastic waste, rather than burning koila, which is more harmful than plastics. Then let's start this process wherein our municipal corporations will transport our waste to these cement plants, and they'll incinerate it and make cement out of it. Now again, the problem started when who is going to bear the transportation cost? Should we get the neat and clean segregated waste or not? Whose problem is that? And then things got twisted, and eventually that also never took off, the whole process. Now rest of the solutions are very small scale. You can go to create alternate fuel out of plastics. That is also possible, which can be used for gensets or cremation and multiple locations, but it can't be used for automobiles. Third, now fourth is you can upcycle your solid waste by multiple options. Nowadays there are so many options to create waste into beautiful chairs or tables or toilets or multiple options, but that is very cost intensive, and it has to be implemented in the localities itself where the problem is. Solutions should be around it within a radius of 25 kilometers. Beyond that, it's not sustainable. If you transport your waste beyond 20-25 kilometers, then it's not sustainable. You are creating your carbon footprint, or you're increasing your carbon footprints. Now that's third. Now, eventually, after 4-5 years of struggle, that how to dispose our waste, we've been collecting a lot of waste, and we collected about 800,000 kilos of solid waste from the Himalayan region. That excludes the glass waste, only plastic waste. And let me tell you, just to pick up 1 kg of solid waste or single-use plastic, which is majorly consists of chips, kurkure packets, you have to bend down about 350 to 400 times just to pick up 1 kg of plastic waste. That is single-use plastic I'm talking about. So now you can realize that how many Surya Namaskars I do every year, right? Because I've collected about 800,000 kilos of waste. So I'm perfectly fit for you doing yoga and be the brand ambassador of our yoga day. But anyways, so now you can relate one thing with it, that why our rag pickers, our safai karamchari जो हमारे घर पे आके हमारा waste लेके जाते हैं, they don't pick up the single use plastic from our streets, because just to collect 1 kg of plastic waste they have to bend down so much of time, and then eventually the cost that they'll get from this particular single use plastic is very low. So that's why you'll always find poly bags, chips packets, biscuit packets all around our streets, and never you'll find a PET bottle or recyclable item in our streets. That's why. That's one of the reasons. That's why the world is so loud that please ditch single-use plastic, plastic cutlery, plastic bottles, chips packets. But in today's life, it's very, very difficult to, completely eliminate single-use plastic or plastics, because our very life depends on it. And, the budget that gets around plastics is very, reasonable. So that's why plastic is there to stay. That's for sure. So we have to work on the, alternatives, that how to create a system to collect waste and properly dispose it. Now, once, even if we are on this planet, we are born on this planet as an individual human being, we will leave certain carbon footprints behind, whether the human beings or any sort of product, whatever it is. If we are on the planet Earth, we will leave something behind, and that is very negative for the environment. How to neutralize that footprint while we are here? That is the question, that is the answer we should all seek for. Now, one thing that is under our control is our lifestyle. On a day-to-day basis, our choices are under our control, basically. So that's where you have to figure out that what all you can do on a day-to-day basis that can reduce your, consumption of plastics or resources that are limited in a finite manner on this planet. We always, good at innovations, but we are never good at handling them, and that's the problem everywhere most of the time. We, order food, but we don't know how much we want to eat, and 33% of our food waste all the time. That's the scenario. So coming back to your lifestyle, what all you can do on a day-to-day basis, and how exactly can you reduce your footprints on this planet? I always carry a recyclable, refillable water bottle, and in a year, if I buy 365 plastic bottles, I reduce 365 bottles. Wherever I go, I never ask that please give me a straw. I don't need a straw to drink my water, drink my juice or milk. दूध लस्सी के लिए तो गांव में कभी हम यूज नहीं करते ना straw. Cold drinks के लिए करते हैं when we go to a restaurant, fancy restaurant. When we go to a Starbucks, we'll use that paper straw. Let me tell you and remind you that before plastics, it was only paper, and we were so worried. The generation, the previous than me, they were so proud once that we found an alternative to paper, and they were very happy, and they were so proud of themselves that we invented plastics. Although it was by some miscalculation, they got to know that this is plastic and can be usable. Anyways, that was a miscalculated invention, but it is very useful nowadays. But everybody thought that instead of cutting trees using so much of paper, now we have plastics, and then we can use that plastic into multiple directions, and we were so happy about it. But again, good at innovations, bad at handling them, and we started exploiting them to its core. We go out to do a shopping, buy vegetables, धनिया अलग चाहिए है, मिर्ची अलग चाहिए, टमाटर अलग चाहिए, and there are 5 polythenes. Many of you can relate to it. I know that for sure. But next time you go out to do shopping, please carry your jute bag, cotton bag, which is long lasting, durable, and you can use it again and again. Part of circular economy, very important. We'll talk about circular economy also. So these are small habits. Like we always try and minimize our footprints, but at the same time, there are times when we end up buying one poly bag, we end up using one straw. That's okay. Don't feel guilty about it. I was almost I had environmental anxiety because of it, but it's okay. You will end up using. There are PVC pipes in your house. You can't really take them out, and you just start implementing iron pipes. That's not a solution that I'm talking about. But eliminate what is not necessary. Please do that. Plastic cutlery came into picture again because of COVID, because of the use and throw culture came into picture again because of COVID, that we don't really want to touch anybody else's utensils and everything. Now, that's why this year in 2020, our footprints increased. But in 2021, once the COVID is away from our lives, we can always, use, which is reusable. Stop using these plastic cutlery. Stop using, at least try and stop the uses of plastic bottles which is below 1 liter, half a liter or below that. Most of the times in birthday parties, you carry these fancy bottles and you feel very proud of yourself that this is the upgradation of my life. The birthday party is getting better because I'm using these plastic bottles and I'm not using water from RO, or I'm giving water in a jug or mug or on a glass. No, no, no. That's a wrong attitude, and don't be burdened by the society's thinking. Take your decision, conscious decision, and make it impactful on the environment, rather than trying and prove your point that I'm getting richer by the day because society thinks so. No, that's not the way. So lifestyle is one part. Now choose the life after lifestyle. What is under your control? Like most of the lawyers might think that we can file PILs or we can do RTIs and things like that, but an ounce of practical groundwork is much more than the thousand theories. Truly, that's what I believe in, and my ideology, the core ideology of my work is education through ground action. So that's why I hardly do these online sessions, but anyways, it's very important because all of the teachers who are there, they might implement this theory in their classes and then eventually impact lives of these students who are about to step in the real world after their graduation. So third is that we never talked about is circular economy. Now, what is circular economy? Which is very beautiful concept, and knowingly or unknowingly in rural regions of our country, our countrysides, we've been doing upcycling, or we were a part of circular economy for a long time. पुराने टाइम में जब घी का डब्बा खराब हो जाता था तो हम उसमें पेड़ पौधे लगा देते थे. That is part of circular economy, utilizing one particular resource to its last breath. That's circular economy. Making waste, solid waste part of value chain, that's circular economy. Ditching polybag and using a cotton bag or jute bag, that is circular economy. There is linear economy, there is circular economy. Linear economy is polybag. You use it for 5 minutes and then throw it away. Dead end. Linear. Circular, cotton bag, jute bag, you use it over and over and over again, and that is circular economy. And these lifestyle habits should be inculcated each and everyone. Then earlier, my grandfather, father, or my father used to carry the jute bags or cotton bags, and now the young generation is they feel very ashamed carrying a bag and going to a shop, and it's very ridiculous of them that the whole world is out there judging them and they are carrying. But if you stay and stick with your principles long enough, then you'll prove your point. Something I very proudly say that I did, because even in the first year of my campaigns, people used to laugh about it. They used to make jokes and multiple things happened, but that never discouraged me. That only motivated me to do a lot more than I was supposed to do. And now the cleaning drives that I started with 15 or 16 in initial years, it has gone up to 45, 50, and that's the third part: circular economy and linear economy. Now I'll talk about small scale solutions that I have adopted in Himalayan region, most difficult topography, Himachal. When you track, when you go out for a track, you just track. That's if that's for 10 kilometers, and you track and clean, it becomes 20 kilometers. So you can understand the physical efforts that we have to put every weekend, and you organize a cleaning drive every weekend in Himalayan region. So after 5 years, realizing that there are so many things to do and there's so many aspects, the problem comes with so many solutions also. It wasn't created overnight. So there are multiple solutions to one particular problem, such as, for example, if you want to keep on one track route clean, we have to organize cleaning drives regularly. We have to engage, motivate them, because they are more into minching money nowadays because of the tourism, rather than reviving their dying belongingness towards their very own Himalayas. So that's the second part. Third is engaging volunteers who are coming from all across the globe, whether India or outside. And fourth part is how to manage all this system that you have created, all these SOPs that you have created along with tracking and cleaning. Once you collect, how to dispose it. So last year we started building these small scale units in Himalayan region. You can call them technically MRFs also, material recovery facilities, or waste collection centers. Now this is the gap that we are bridging. between the solid waste generators and the disposal mechanisms. There are communities in the remote areas which are filled with tourism, influx of tourism, thousands of people going to one particular location, and that particular location can't really handle that kind of tourism, especially in terms of ecological disbalance. So what you do about that? You can't really stop people because they have their right to come down to that particular location. You can't really stop local communities also at the same time because they have the right to make guest houses, homestays, hotels, and earn some money out of it, because Himachal, the GDP is all about tourism. So multiple factors. Now, what we did is we tried this approach of balanced approach somewhere in the middle. You can't really stop tourism, but you can make them into sustainable or eco tourism. So last year we started building our first waste collection center in one of the Himalayan villages, Chitkul it's called, close to that another village, Rakcham. So two beautiful villages, very touristic. The footfall is increasing by the year because most of the youngsters go there, and it happens to be the last village on the border of India towards China. So it has some attraction to it. So the last village of our country, and we want to get clicked, and we want to post those photos on social media, and somehow that village became very famous. So we built our first waste collection center there. What we will do is we'll collect all the waste from the households, from the restaurants, from the hotels, homestays, and there are multiple army units, ITBP units, because it's a border area. So we'll collect all the waste from them, bring it to the waste collection center, segregate it further because they are already aligned with our thought process. They'll segregate and give it to us. They'll drop it to our waste collection center. We are not going door to door to collect it. So the amount of education and efforts we have started putting in is from last year only. So it is because we don't have to manage each and every aspect of the waste disposal mechanism. So they also participate in it somehow. That's why we try and engage them in a way that they become a part of our solution. So they drop the waste to our waste collection centers. We'll segregate it, compress it. We have installed compressing machines so that while transporting that waste, we have minimum footprints, and we can transport a huge chunk of waste. Now that's one thing. Now that waste can go to these large scale facilities, whether it's waste to energy, whether these recycling units, multiple options. But first you need to have proper system where you can get neat and clean segregated waste that can be treated into multiple directions. Now this is truly a part of circular economy. Once you waste is not waste until it is wasted, and this is a theory that we always believe in and we follow it also. Because see, the biggest problem happens is that as soon as you use anything and it's time to bin it, how to go about it, whether you'll store it for a while, because I'm talking about the remote Himalayan regions. Maybe in the cities where you are, you might have municipal corporations who come door to door and collect your waste. But in Himalayan regions, that too in rural Himalayan regions, uh, you don't really have mechanisms to dispose it. So whether you'll throw it in a river, you burn it open, or you landfill it, these are the only three things happens in the most of the Himalayan parts. So, and trust me, when you collect waste directly from the household, it has some certain value attached to it. But when it takes a tour, you collect it from a river, or you dig it out from a land, then the value of that plastic waste or the solid waste degrades, and then eventually there is no particular use for that solid waste that you collect. It's only going to be stored at some certain location. That's what's happening in most of the locations, whether it's metro city or tier 1, 2, 3 city. So that's why you need to collect waste directly from the household, get it to the waste collection center, store it there. This waste collection center works similarly, just like our warehouses, cold storages. Something similar happens in those waste collection centers also. It provides that flexibility that once the waste is generated, you just don't have to throw it away immediately. You can store it somewhere, and then eventually, when you have a truckload of garbage, you can transport it further. You can use it for further recyclings. Eventually we will start recycling those wastes, plastic waste, at the particular location only. But as of now, we are only focused towards creating these waste collection centers. We built our first waste collection center in Rakcham Chitkul, Kinnor district, Himachal Pradesh. The next one will also come up in Himachal Pradesh, Kinnor district, and the third one will come in Kulu district. So we are focusing on the remote Himalayan regions wherein the footfall is very heavy. The tourism influx is very heavy. You might have heard about the Atal Tunnel, the very famous Atal Tunnel nowadays. Most of the tourists, who never went beyond Manali, Kullu, or Rotang Pass, now everybody started going towards Lahore and Spiti. Now that environment is very fragile, and those localities are not prepared with that kind of tourism, that kind of heavy tourism. So we are also focusing there and trying to implement those systems in place, these waste collection centers. And so we are trying to focus on the remote Himalayan regions at multiple locations. Now, these are the alternatives that we are focusing on. As an individual, you don't really, you need to focus on particular things, such as what's happening with your waste when you use it, when you bin it, and when your municipal corporation takes it away. You need to find out what's happening with that, what exactly your municipal corporation is doing with that, whether they are incinerating it or just landfilling it, or they are using it for waste to energy plants. But you need to figure that out. You must do that research on your own, or you need to talk to municipal corporation guys and must figure out that what's happening with my garbage, because it's your responsibility also. Now I'll talk about another policy that has come into picture in 2020, although the inception of that policy started taking place in 2016, but finally it's here. And how impactful or impactful it will be, we'll get to know by 21, 22, or 23. It's called EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. Now, what Extended Producer Responsibility stands for is all the manufacturers. So far, the management of solid waste is basically being handled by the municipal corporations, urban local bodies, ULBs. But now government says that all the manufacturers should be a part of this EPR policy. You manufacture, you transport your products into market, and the market gives it to the consumers, and then eventually it goes back to the municipal corporation. Why municipal corporation take care of all the garbage? Why as a company you should be held responsible, because you manufacture so much, you make profit out of it so much, then why not? So EPR will hold accountable all the manufacturers of plastics also, and all the people who are wrapping their products into plastics, such as Nestle, Hindustan Unilever, Patanjali. Most of the companies are FMCG companies, fast moving consumer goods companies, and they wrap their products into plastic. So now it's their responsibility also. Now how this policy will work, they have created parallel bodies. These companies have started creating these bodies. They will collect waste for them. It doesn't really matter if Hindustan Unilever is not supposed to collect only Hindustan Unilever products from the waste, but they can collect, the amount should be the same, not the branding or product. So they need to collect all the waste and then showcase it to the local municipal corporation, submit it there, and that's how this extended producer responsibility will start. So there are certain loopholes also, but we'll figure that out as a government is working on that, and we are also trying to figure out that how this policy will be, because this gives all the manufacturers an edge that they can produce so much as much they want, and they don't need to really minimize it as long as they are collecting it. So we need to focus on that aspect also, that how to minimize waste in the first place, and second is that how to collect and segregate and recycle it. That's second aspect. We'll come to that also, how to minimize footprints. So EPR, another policy, circular economy, a beautiful concept that everybody should inculcate into their lifestyles. Start using these simple steps that can change a lot and make my work easy in the Himalayas, especially while you travel and trek. You must take care of your waste, because wherever you go, it's very simple. You go to a dhaba, you eat Maggi, you ask him that give me my Maggi packet back. Whatever I used, give it back to me. I'll take it to the nearest city and dispose it there in the dustbin or anywhere which is suitable. But don't leave that Maggi packet or chips packet or bottle there in the remotest part of the Himalayan region. Recently, we found that the highest Mount Everest, there's plastic. Deepest part of the ocean, there's plastic. And whatever marine life have, most of the marine species, they have plastics in their bodies. And recently, some scientists in Italy found out that during a birth, in the placenta of mother, it was for the first time. So now it has entered into our human body also. So now we should be wary about it. I hope I'm loud and clear because I think my network is keep on losing my network. Okay. Yes. Good. So it is our duty to, find out alternatives at our own level. You don't really need multiple inspirations to reduce your consumption of plastics. I know it's difficult. People who live just to, reduce plastics can only, manage to neutral their carbon footprints. But people who are, doing a job or regular life, it's very difficult for them to ditch completely. But at least try and start with it, and eventually you'll find it more suitable, and it will be very easy for you also and the wildlife there also. Because most of the time I seen, last year, last year, uh, there's this track called, very notorious track, I would say, because most of the people come down to do drugs and all, and especially the youngsters. So there were so many glass bottles there, and there was this cow which got hurt because of the glass, and she couldn't move. Now she become a, food for a leopard or something like that, and this is purely because we left our garbage there. So it's a problem, not for you at least, maybe for the wildlife, for the sake of them, and because they can't really speak out, but they can't really express their pain. But there's so much pain that we are causing because of our anthropogenic activities, and they are the ones who, suffering because of it. We might find alternatives, but for them it's very difficult. So many species are dying out. So many, beautiful marine life is at the verge of extinction because of the, plastic waste. 80 million tons every year we throw, solid waste in the oceans. That is one truckload of garbage every minute. Now you see that how much contribution you do that, give away into that. So it's very difficult to, manage. But at the same time, there are so many alternatives in the market that you can go for, and that will make life easy for you and for the planet Earth, and especially for the wildlife out there. My work so far, I would say I've been doing a lot of work, but I just, scratch the surface only. It's not very substantial, I would say. Significance of my work will might be, maybe in next 5 6 years, and results will come out. But for that, I need each and every individual, who, especially when you come down to the Himalayas, wherever you are, that's one of the issues. But I'm more focused, more keen on the Himalayan regions. I'm stepping down to the plains also. Recently, we started working in Aravalli regions, nearby Gurgaon, and on 14th February, we started, North Campus of Delhi, Vishavidhal area. So we'll start cleaning that part also. And eventually we'll try and pressurize that the local authorities should take orders to clean their surroundings. We don't really, we don't really, how would I say that? We have enough resources, we have enough manpower, we have enough money. The only problem that we face on a day-to-day life is that the intentions are not there, and that's where the, key solution lies. We need to figure out that, what you can do on a day-to-day basis so that it doesn't impact anybody else, and especially you. We were very afraid that, recently we just finished the great realization 2020, and if we don't realize now, I think let's not wait for another disaster to happen. And most of the time, as a community and with the kind of beliefs that we have, we feel or we wait that there is going to be a miracle that will solve our problems, but we always end up facing disasters, and that's been happening quite frequently in last few years, or maybe in a decade also. And in my times, I've seen that in 2009 when I shifted to Himachal Pradesh, I saw that these pristine locations, and now it's filled with plastic. What's the saying in the in the Himalayan region? You just follow the plastics, and you'll reach your destination. That's really sad, man. I think, uh, and people panic also. Like when they don't see any garbage around them, they start panicking that, oh, this is not so neat and clean. I think nobody has been there to this particular track before. So they try and, find plastics, and then they think that we are on the right course of track. So you see, the narration have changed over a period of time. And earlier, we used to. So in 2000, I was talking about my initial years in Himachal Pradesh. It was so beautiful, pristine. There were hardly any crowd, but eventually, because of Bollywood movies, so many people started coming down to the mountains, started feeling the same feelings that Bollywood actor or actresses started feeling. but they never said that, you should pollute those locations. So try and take the good message. You go and explore, go for a trek, but at the same time, be mindful of your trash that you throw here and there. And littering is one of the biggest problems that our country is facing. When we are out, when we go out, when we go to any abroad countries, we become very systematic. We become very disciplined. But when we come back to India, oh, this is my India, I can take it for granted. I've seen it. I recently went to Rajasthan also in Thar Desert, and it was filled with plastics, broken glass bottles. And who's going to take care of it? Like whether you talk about ocean, desert, Himalayas, plain region, Aravallis, everywhere, all these beautiful places have become party places now. You just go there, take all the stuff with you and just leave it behind. For what? I don't know. It's difficult for me to figure it out that, what kind of, behavior or ideology that you carry. You need to spread this message that wherever you go, be more cautious, be more careful about your ways, be more mindful. It wasn't, I healing Himalayas came into my head when I saw that problem started happening, on a large scale. But I've been very conscious since my childhood only. I was very conscious. I was very sensitive about the wildlife out there, about the people around me. And I think that behavior helped me to reach where I am today and establish this beautiful community of healing Himalayas. And we got together, and now we are very focused, dedicated community, and we take our cause very seriously. We try and reach out to maximum people through these webinars, seminars, social media, whatever means which are there out there in the public. We try and engage as much people as we could. Be our extended hands, hearts, be the shepherd of your community wherever you are. Learn from that community. Never educated, never been to a class, but they are most conscious about their environment and they thrive on it. Unlike we people, we go out for a trek, we play loud music, we anyway scare all the wildlife out there for the very reason we are there for, and we disturb the whole ecology, the whole environment there. We don't really engage ourselves with the local community, try and understand their culture and blend with it, rather than we take our habits from whichever cities we come from, and try and impose those habits. Go to the Himalayas. If the location is so remote, just eat rice and dal, kadhi and dal. Don't ask for pizzas, which is not available there. You should not ask for that, and don't create this burden of facilities on them, so that they have to, they have to carry a lot of, packaging stuff to these remote parts, and just to provide you facility. Be more wary of your, thought process or what you order while you travel. I know we are always very happy while we travel. We tend to order more food. We tend to buy more things. We tend to do a lot of shopping, but be more conscious at the same time. We waste a lot of food. Almost 33% of our food goes to the landfills. Again, nothing happens with that. And most of the food waste goes into plastics now. So the mixture of both is very difficult, not very sustainable. Food can be converted into manure, beautiful manure, which can be used at multiple locations. Plastics can be recycled, can be used into multiple directions. But if both of them get mixed, then the value goes to zero. Nothing happens from there on. The food will protect polybag will protect food. So we don't really need to do that. There are alternatives. Most of the garbage bags that we have these days are compostable garbage bags made out of corn starch, potato starch, rather than a plastic, uh, rather than plastics. So that can be, compostable. That is compostable. It will compost eventually with time. So try and find those alternatives when you go out for shopping. When you go out shopping for these carry bags, also try and ask them that which are compostable bags. They are a bit costly as of now. 1 kg of polythene is for 180 rupees, and 1 kg of compostable bag is for 330 rupees, somewhere in between. So the cost is higher, but let's create that demand so that the rates comes down. And it is up to us, when we go out for a, when we plan our holidays, we do a lot of recce. Which hotel should we stay in? Which area should we explore? At the same time, try and explore what are the sustainable alternatives also. Instead of hotel, try and stay in a homestay. That will be, much beneficial. You'll learn a lot about the local culture. So this is my, thought process and my expertise that I shared with you all today. I think it's been an hour and more than enough, because everybody had just had lunch, might be a bit sleepy. So I think let's open the session for question and answers, and let's talk about if anybody has any.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, participants, if you have any question, you can ask or you can write your question in the chat box also.
Yes, please. In the meantime, I request each and every professor, teacher who's listening to me, try and encourage your students to do something which is not very conventional. Maybe it's very difficult to see them going through all the hardship they might see in the field, but try and encourage them to do the same, because you know uh, we are looking out for leaders who can take up this challenge in their respective localities, whether it's a small community or RWAs or society or a city or a village. You should talk about solid waste management. We need to go beyond electricity, roads, education. We must focus on solid waste in the villages at the same time. You know, the waste collection center we built recently is as good as a temple because it gives so much solutions to keep the area neat and clean. और स्वच्छता में ही भगवान वास करते हैं, ये बात सबने सुनी होगी, I think. So rather than focusing on giving fundings to the temples or etc., focus on solid waste management. It will give you better air. Your AQI will increase. Your quality of soil will increase. The quality of rivers and the lifestyle of marine life will increase.
So it's one message from Dr. Surendra Kumar. That's nice presentation.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, sir, for very informative, interesting lecture. And in fact, I should say very wonderful and beautiful experience of your life journey and the work which you have been carried. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing your valuable time and sharing your best work experience with all of us.
Thank you. And I look forward to all the teachers. You must come down to the mountains, participate with me this year. I'll share the calendar with you all. We have a very hectic schedule, so must come prepared. Do some jogging before you come to the mountain.
Hello.
Sir, it will be our pleasure.
Hello.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Sorry, being late, but I just wanted to ask sir about the recycling efforts which is being taken up in the Himalayan regions related to the plastic waste management.
That we are doing or the government is doing?
Any agency, because I know they from the government side that the efforts are, you can say, the less which is being, and still the plastic waste recycling is still a kind of a informal sector.
Yes, always disappointed with the government. So anyways, I just shared that what we do with the plastic waste that we collect. We're trying to bridge that gap between the producers and the municipal corporations who provide large scale solutions. We try and so you can also do the same wherever you are. I think within a society you can create this small scale waste collection center, whether it's 10 houses, 20 houses, 50 houses, but one has to take the onus to start or initiate this program. What we have done is we started collecting waste from the houses, restaurants, and the hotels directly, and then bring it to our waste collection centers. I don't know if you heard that part. We started building these small scale waste collection units in the Himalayan region, especially the rural Himalayan regions, wherein the tourism footfall is very heavy, as good as a city, because the amount of garbage that has been produced is as equivalent as a city, good city. So what we do is we collect that waste, further segregate it, and take it for recycling to multiple locations, such as MLP can go to the policy that I shared, EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. We can sell our MLP, multi-layered packaging plastics, to EPR companies. They are buying it. PET bottles, recyclable material can go to the recyclers only, but that is sustainable only if you have a big quantity to transport. That's the only time. And now, what are the operations to do it? We are engaging these are frontline workers, our rag pickers, safai karamcharis. We are hiring them to work with us. They'll take care of the day-to-day operations in these waste collection centers, rather than we make money and by selling of these waste to multiple recyclers. We try and bring them into the picture so that it becomes sustainable. Once they start getting enough money, they'll put more efforts to collect waste from other villages also, and we create systems for them. so that in our waste collection centers we create a small room for 1 or 2 people who can stay there. We create a small toilet also so that they can stay and work from there only. So they can collect waste from the villages, segregate it and sell it off. They can earn money for themselves. My work is to educate communities and create these waste collection centers. Something similar can happen in most of the cities wherever you are. So this is what we are doing, and this is very sustainable idea. You can do the same. Although in the cities, the land to build these waste collection centers is going to be very tough because nobody is ready to give land. And especially in their locality, because once you create a small scale waste collection center, the value around that land degrades. The rates comes down very heavily. So that's another challenge. But this is the only way out now, because we can't really uh, eliminate plastics out of our lives. So this is the only way, and this is how we are proceeding.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other participant? It's a golden chance to interact, Mr. Pradeep Sangwan. Please don't miss that.
Hello.
Ji.
Sir, hello. Sir, good afternoon. I have also one question. So nowadays, different researchers are actually producing biofuel out of plastics. It's not biofuel. That is, you can say that pyrolytic oils and all these things. But yes, it is also causing some pollution while producing the bio oil. So, but one of the advantages is what we can use it as a substitute for the fossil fuel like kerosene. But we cannot right now. We cannot use it as directly as the diesel, but we can use it as the kerosene. But in some places also they are using that. So, are you doing such things in your place, sir?
No, I'm not really focusing on the last part of our whole system wherein we recycle the product. No, we are not focusing on that. But fuel out of waste is a very good idea, and it is very sustainable also. Some of my friends in Pune and Hyderabad are doing it. They are selling that alternate fuel at the cost of 38 rupees per liter. And yes, there are some carbon footprints once you use the oil, but during the process of converting that waste into fuel, there are no footprints, there are no greenhouse gases emitted. But once you start burning it, there are obviously, see, as I told you, we human beings, we have certain habits, or we are on the planet Earth. There are some part of our lives that will create some greenhouse gases. Other than us, there are no particular individual or wildlife which will create any greenhouse gases in the environment. Our activities are like that. But bringing down from 100% to 10%, that's the area we should focus on. Rather than creating 100% pollution, let's bring it down to 10%. And that's why waste to fuel is very good alternative. Although we haven't started using it for automobiles, but ONGC and other PSUs are working on it. They might start, but again, for the same, we need neat and clean segregated waste for everything. Whatever we want to recycle, we need neat and clean segregated waste. So that's the priority, and that's where I'm working to, building these waste collection centers. And then further, there are multiple options, as I said. So yes, it's a good option, and people can opt it out for as a good sustainable model. Also, they can money out of it also.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, any other participant? Any other participant want to ask anything?
Chalo ji fir. I think everybody is clear about the all the issues that we are facing in terms of climate crisis. If you have any further question, come down for a cleaning drive in the mountains. We'll meet face to face.
So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye, sir. So that's all for the today's session. Thanks to all the participants for patience hearing. I hope you all have find this session very interesting and knowledgeable. And that's all for today. We will meet tomorrow at 9:15. Thank you.
मैम हेलो मैम
जी
हेलो हाँ मैडम एक्चुअली